Looks like everyone's here. Great to see your faces on screen again. I know we were all together in person last month, but it's good to see you all here and for our favorite topic of sponsorship and the packages. So we felt like this was a little bit better of an opportunity to get us all to talk virtually about this topic so that we could record it so that people who couldn't make it to conference could still either be a part of the conversation or go back and look at the recording for it. So really, we know that a lot of you are starting to look at your sponsorship packages for next year. Some of you have tried some things over the course of the last year that might have worked, or maybe it didn't work. And so this session is really this sharing session, brainstorm type session. But we also have Carly with our headquarters team with us today. So at our annual conference and our law seminar, we introduced some new things this year too that chapters might be able to kind of take some ideas from and maybe again assist with your sponsorship packages or to get your minds thinking about some new things. And then I also wanted to reference yesterday we had sent out an email with a couple of documents. We'll make sure that as we're talking about them, we'll upload them here as well. But one of the documents was a review of the sponsorship packages that chapters had provided us during retreat last year. So we went through the sponsorship packages that were shared and found some commonalities, some trends, and then also some recommendations by chapter size that you might want to think about including into your packages for the future. So we'll go ahead, we'll get that posted in the chat too. But otherwise, I would like to turn it over to Carly at this point to kind of review some of those items.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you everybody for not booing when my name was called. It's always my biggest fear. Boo, boo. Welcome. I am Carly Reed. I am the Director of Director of Programs and Exhibitor Relations. It's always a mouthful. I can never seem to get it right. So I'm really happy to be here and happy to spend the afternoon with you guys. So just a quick kind of brief breakdown of what my job is in relation to Holly, which I'm sure you guys know is our meeting planner. So essentially, I handle all of the business partners when it comes to our events. So right now I'm doing all the sales and then the sales fulfillment or the operations. So it's a two-pronged kind of fork that I work with at CAI. So I see them from point A to point B and then back again. And I think that gives me a unique perspective of what kind of ROI that they're looking for. I definitely hear about it a lot. Those are always the fun conversations. But for good or for bad, they do have some great feedback. And certainly, like if I can incorporate that into our future packages, then I do. I know that Kelly sent you guys 2 documents that I created for you guys. One being the sponsorship strategy exchange document, and one is a document that I actually put together for our exhibitors this year with regards to exhibitor booth experiences, because I have felt that a lot of times our business partners rely heavily on us to make things happen, to make these connections happen. But I try to tell these guys, you're a part of this too. You have to make this happen too. You can't just stand in your booth and hope people connect with you. That's just not how it's going to work. So I came up with these documents to really inspire our business partners to really, lean into being there and being a part of their investment. I mean, I can only take it so far, and then you guys have to cross the finish line. So, at any rate, those are the 2 documents. And today I kind of want to start with just a really brief overview of kind of like what I'm seeing in the industry. And I definitely want this to be more of a ebb and flow. I don't want to sit here and talk the whole time. I'm self-conscious about my voice, so I don't want to talk too long. At any rate, the 2 biggest things that I see in this industry is that our business partners want are on-site presence, so one-on-one connections with the attendees, with the managers, with the CEOs, with whomever the audience is, And then the second one is brand awareness. And they're very different. I really like to have conversations from the get-go with our business partners. What are you trying to accomplish? I always find that a lot of them don't know and they want you to tell them. Um, so those are the two, like the two facets, the two columns that I break my deliverables in when I give sponsorships. Um, I don't want to get into the minutia of it all, but obviously I try to be as transparent as possible with our business partners. Who's your audience? Who are you trying to connect with? Because not all of my events are going to be applicable to them. And I do not want them coming to an event saying, this is not who I thought the audience was going to be. And hence now I'm disappointed. I'm not just trying to get their money. They are a business partner, and I want them to remain that, a partner for the long term. Um,
And Carly, if I can just,
mhm.
I'll jump in for a second. I know with our chapters, I know that's something we think about in terms of, are you holding events that are more geared towards managers or homeowner leaders? And so that filters into a lot of those expectations, but also taking a look at when one of our national corporate members or a member that might be involved with a lot of chapters, they might be used to a different breakdown of membership. So we have some chapters that are more homeowner heavy or more manager heavy. And so if they're going from one to the next, they might have already that assumption like, oh, I'm used to working with chapters that are more manager heavy, and now they're working with you, which is a chapter that's more homeowner heavy, and they need to kind of flip their mindset with that. So also taking a look at some of that sometimes with the business partners as well when they're coming in or you're having these conversations with them. Thanks for
Yeah.
letting me jump in, Carly.
Oh yeah, jump in anytime. Yeah, what I have found, as you know, no one reads anything. I really try to be as communicative as I can. A lot of the business partners, I am finding I have to constantly have the same conversation, and I really have to teach them, what is this event? Who is at this event? A lot of them want stats, like they want to know how many homeowners, how many managers. And I mean, depending on, I mean, for us, it's by state, but for you, it could be by county, it could be by city. They want to know this stuff. And the more data mining that you have to back up, the better. So whatever data mining that you can have for these guys, great. Um, I tend to do a slow roll when it comes to my outreach. I don't like to inundate them with data right away. I just kind of do, I'm working on with my marketing team, rebranding and re-educating our business partners what our events are. Because a lot of them, and I don't know if you guys have the same issue, don't know all of our events. They just think the annual conference. That's what I want to go to. That's what I know. And there's 4 other events that might be more beneficial for them to participate in. So it's really looking at your events and figuring out how to communicate that to the business partners. Why is it important for them to be there? Is this their market? And really guide them through this process. Kind of shifting back to that document that I sent, these are like the top things our business partners are looking for when they're going to an event. So when we sell our events to them, I try to say in my communication, lead generation, and how that lead generation for the annual conference, how that works. Is it an actual lead generation device that they can use, or is it a different type of lead generation, or how they can access that at our event? And I won't go through all of these because that's a lot. But these things, this is where people are looking to get at these events. And if you can provide them these deliverables, they will want to come to your event, ideally. And these are benefits as to why a business partner will want to participate.
And when you guys are reviewing these lists that Carly provided, with lead generation, your chapter might not have a device, right, that they're scanning or the codes or things like that. And that's not the expectation. But what is it that they're getting? Are they going to get a list with people's names? Should they
Mm-hmm.
be doing prize raffles? If there is a prize raffle, is that something that they're going to announce from their booth? Is it something that they're responsible to send after? Is it something where at the end you announce them all? So at the chapter level, we've seen that take place in a lot of different formats. I will say if with lead retrieval specifically, make sure a lot of our homeowners don't have business cards, and make sure that your business partners know that. So it's whether it's you providing, a little sheet for them to put in their information. Some people provide like little stickers or stuff for the attendees to make it easier, or asking your business partners to have something that someone can fill out. Just again, with that concept, right? Of at the end of the day, if they're trying to collect information or if they're trying to do certain things that are on this list, how does that factor back to the chapter, and things to think about from that perspective of how to meet those needs for them.
Right. And another good point to that is, a lot of our business partners, sometimes they'll come to me with ideas with, I want to do this at this event. And depending on the event, it will or will not work. If it's not going to land, I'm not going to install it into this event. And so you really have to look at your audience and what Kelly was saying, like if it's mainly homeowners and they're not technologically savvy or whatever it is, they don't have business cards, like maybe a high tech sponsorship won't be the best fit for that. So you have to, it's like finding that best fit for the audience and the business partner. And then, the Goldilocks moment where, okay, it's just right. I figured that out. And so sometimes that's just telling the business partner, hey guys, this is not what is going to fit for this group, but let me guide you towards something else. Let's come up with another idea. I never say no outright. Well, that's not true. I do. And it makes me happy to say that sometimes. I do say that. But if I do say no, I try to come up with another solution right away because no one likes to hear no, especially when they want to give you money. I really try to work with them on that. But sponsorship ideas, things that I see coming down the pike. I know I spoke to Amy Morrison, the CED of North Carolina on site. She really liked, I'm sure some of you saw it. It was brand new this year at conference, the iPad check-in display. We finally came into the 21st century and, we didn't have the badges, and that was a big hit. That was also sponsored. And that is a low lift for you. All that is a sponsor logo that you upload to the admin side of the software and you're done. That's it. So it's all about certain sponsorship working smarter, not harder, because I'm sure all of you have very limited time, limited staff, limited resources. So what can we do to really streamline the ROI for them, but also our time for us, because our time is valuable too. So I've seen a lot of technology coming into place. The iPad check-in, I put a couple of them down there. I'm doing new this year for CEO. I'm doing specialized ads on our microsite, $1,000 a pop, and they create the content and the website, and then I upload it and I'm done. And so I sold 4 of those, and that's 4K that I can just shut the door and I'm done. So it's about looking at your software where you can maybe incorporate some sponsorship. Obviously these old standbys, the emails, they're always good, to have a sponsor logo in that. E-blast, always good. Again, just trying to figure out these low lift ones so that you can see the dollars increase, but your time increase just for you and not for the actual event. The next one that we have is networking, food and beverage, because one equals the other. So receptions, VIP lounges, education sessions. I mean, run the gambit of what you want to have people sponsor. I mean, the world is your oyster in this sense. I've seen everything from a general session sponsorship to an education session sponsorship to a speaker sponsorship. So you really have a lot of leeway here when it comes to the creation of these type of sponsorships. And I know a lot of you have golf tournaments. This is a great way to get some funds coming in. And I will say, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but our business partners love the kitschy stuff. Like if you can rename like the golf sponsorship to like a hole in one, or don't get teed off, become a sponsor, like something fun and kitschy. Like your members best, but our exhibitors, our business partners, they love it. They think it's funny. So I try to get kind of creative with them. This when I launch in July, I'm going to launch Law Seminar, and I've redesigned all of the sponsorships. I've renamed them, and I'm hoping that rebranding them and adjusting the offerings will bring in some additional business partners, amongst other things. But they do like the kitschy stuff, dinners, so on and so forth. Swag. Everybody loves swag. And what I have told our business partners, I do not want crap swag. I'm sorry, I do not want crap swag. Nobody wants crap swag. Like, elevate your swag. This is ridiculous. Why is there a cheap whistle with your logo on it? Nobody wants that. So I have very honest conversations, and I say, if you want someone to take this, then it has to be nice. And so and they do. I've really tried to work with them through the years to do something like, there was one sponsor this year that did it all in one charging cable, like any kind of computer or iPad would work. And all it was a charging cable on the outside. It had their sticker on it, but everybody took it. Everybody took it. So I do try to guide them on nicer swag. Because again, if they're going to make the investment, I'd rather it be in something that someone actually takes. And I do, and I tell people, I know you want to give away a flyer. I know you do. Everybody loves their flyers, but leave that for your table or your booth and put a fun swag. There's nothing quite like seeing your company on someone's sunglasses at the pool. I don't know. It's not a hard concept, but for whatever reason it is. So I just work on this, and I trust me, trust me. And then they get really excited when they see that. And they're like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And one of the things that I have seen come down the pike, and I actually think it's super fun. And for those that stayed for the Friday night event, we had them at the inside that the room was the interactive experiences. So we have like a fashion sketch artist, jewelry making, branded tattoos, customized hat making, photos where like you go back in time to like the 20s. I forgot what Corey might know what that was actually called.
AI face swap, which was
Oh
a
yeah,
way to put it, because no one knows what that means either. But it was,
yeah, AI face swap.
modified photography with your face and
Yeah,
ultimately.
and all of those were sponsored. So, something fun, different. It doesn't have to cost an arm and like a lot of these things were very, very reasonable to get. And then I tacked on X amount of dollars just to make some money for the organization. But people love them. They were lines. They love them. And the sponsors are happy because they're like, my God, everybody's in line for this. And so, and the attendees like them because they've got a quick takeaway. The sponsors like them because they see, people in line waiting for the experience. And it's just fun. I mean, I love a good sketch, fashion sketch. I have a few from different events that I've been to that are actually framed in my house, which I suppose is very conceited, but I really like them. So that's kind of what I see coming down the pike. And again, I want to open this up to the team here, but that's
Yeah, in the chat, some people mentioned, again, they were there. It was great. We have another person that mentioned in the chat they had a balloon artist at their awards gala. I know at some of our bigger galas, again, people have worked with the sponsors to do a larger type of swag giveaway, so that those attendees are leaving with a higher quality item than just the trade show piece of it. So if anyone wants to come off mute of anything that you've seen this past year that you think would be good for the group, please feel free to come off mute, or if you even want to raise your hand, either way.
Yeah. I will say really quickly, the exhibitor booth experiences that I shared, like I get that there are limitations on what as an organization we can do. So if I can't do it, I'm going to ask one of my business partners, exhibitor sponsors to do it, because if they do it and they invest in it, it's good for the attendee. And then everybody wins. And then it's a great event. They don't know. The attendees come in and they're like, oh my God, that was such a cool expo hall. I got a customized hat and there was Mickey Mouse or whatever it is that's in there. I mean, that all adds. And I didn't pay for it, but I did encourage my business partner to pay for it. And they win because now they have a booth experience, which means, i.e., lines coming to their table or their booth, and the attendee wins because they're going home with a takeaway. People love that stuff. So, like I said, if you can't do it, you can maybe find someone to do it,
And for your bigger events, I see Lisa had mentioned they've got a theme, and I know a lot of you have those themes for whether it's your conference. Some of our chapters do it for the whole year of, Wild West, for example. But also make sure that, that is promoted, that's always the worst feeling when a business partner kind of shows up and they're like, I didn't get the memo on this, of it is Wild West and I am not partaking. But something that I've seen more often lately too, is that when you're having these themes, is also having a vote for your favorite business partner or your favorite booth that got into the theme. And so it also gives kind of that engagement from the attendee, and then the business partner wins something, and they're celebrated. And usually after the fact, it's, here's this, and it's usually not anything of a big prize. I've seen chapters do just little awards or, gold medals if it was an Olympic theme that they got. So it's not a huge expense on you, but again, they're getting that extra exposure then if you're posting that of, here's our top booth from our trade show. And so that's kind of that free exposure because they participated.
We're taking out lunch. We'll see you later.
Oh, sorry. Adina, I see you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
I mean, we've done a lot. I've been at the chapter for I think this is my 9th year here at the chapter. I'm in New England, for those of you who don't know me. But like the awards night, we've changed our theme every year, and we've always had like a different giveaway for the big sponsor, or I think it was last year or the year before we hired a professional photographer and did like a step and repeat with the sponsored banner for them. We've changed up sponsorships. We usually have something themed. So I remember one year we did like a Western theme, and we had I think we had like a beer pong sponsorship, or a water pong technically, so that it wouldn't be too messy. Or but also, for you guys were talking about the golf tournaments, we've worked with a couple of professional companies that will come in and run like an air cannon contest, break the glass. They run the putting contest, and they'll do a split money wise with us. So it helps a little bit with the fundraising side of both, because you do bring a little more income on top of the sponsorship. But also, to your point of the fun named sponsorships, we've done, they may not be fun named, but we do like a sand trap sponsorship where the sign is like, this trip to the beach was sponsored by X company with their logo, or like a water hazard sponsorship that says this diving excursion was sponsored by X company. So I've seen a lot of these things work. I've seen some things that might work for other chapters not really work for our chapter, but I think that's something we're all going to see, is that there's going to be stuff that our audiences might not all respond to at the same time as seeing something that maybe like I would love to try to have some of these more tech forward ideas in our area, but we get mixed reviews, and then there's the issue of the costs as well, and sometimes getting a sponsor to cover something for a new sponsorship, or getting a sponsor in for those. It's hard to get them sometimes excited about one of those new sponsorships because they don't know what it entails, and they don't really understand, no matter how much information and prop, I guess, that you give them.
Yeah, yeah, I found that this year we had the Wednesday block party this year, and it was the first time doing it with sponsors, and that was hard. It was $6,000, and the idea was uh opening up an opportunity or creating an opportunity for those business partners that could not get in the expo hall. Or how are we going to entice them to do this? I always feel that if it can lead into another event as a thank you, they don't know that this is included. As a thank you, I go up to them at the event, say, thank you so much for doing this. We're now having our welcome reception. I want to invite you to that. So now they have an additional 2 hours of networking time that they didn't think was included, but now they're really feeling appreciated because they took a chance and did this sponsorship. But I have found that with newer sponsorships, newer initiatives, I have to get on the phone and talk to these guys. And sometimes it's multiple times. I have to get on the phone. Why is this important? Let's talk about this again. And they want to feel like you're making an effort too. I do want your money, and I want this, and I have to believe in it. What I'm selling, I have to believe in it. And I did believe in it. We went out on a limb. We had no idea what it was going to look like, even day of setting up. I don't know what I'm doing. The hotel doesn't know what they're doing. Don't tell anybody, but you fake it till you make it. And it worked, and everybody was happy. Like no one, it's like a duck on water. No one needs to know what's going on underneath. But I do feel that the newer ones, you got to pick up the phone. You got to call these guys. Um, Real quick, and only because it's popped into my head, and I've seen this of late, and I don't know what people are thinking, but when a business partner, exhibitor, sponsor is doing a giveaway at their booth, and I guess it's really up to them. Although I think it's short-sighted, but I've seen other business partners put their card in to win, which is like the dumbest thing. That's not for them to win. It is for the attendee. Like I'm now having to have conversations with our business partners. Hey guys, don't really think that your fellow exhibitors and sponsors should be eligible to participate in your TV giveaway. And why would you want to? Don't you want to give it to a prospective client? Again, that's just like food for thought. I don't know if anybody else has seen that, but I feel like that's like exhibiting 101. But I don't know. Maybe we're going back.
And maybe they just have that great of a prize. Everyone wants it, right? So,
Well,
um, going back to Adina's kind of question of when introducing that new sponsorship and having to have those conversations or anything, does anyone have any tips for the group of how you've been successful when you've introduced a new sponsorship and have been able to get that off the ground or, get somebody in for that? I'm looking at a couple of you on the screen that I know you've been successful. So I don't mind calling you out if you'd like me to. But Tim, I see you came off mute.
Because you were going to call on me. Um, I will say, because I don't take credit when I don't deserve it. A lot of times our new sponsorship ideas come from a sponsor themselves that say, how about this? And I'm like, sure, let's do it. And that we add sponsorships every year because I actually market to our business partners that they should come up with ideas for us. And so that's how we get a lot of new ones.
Can I just ask, what do you do in the situation where, like, I've had that happen where a sponsor is like, if you had this sponsorship, I would be on this so quickly. And I create the sponsorship and then I go back to that sponsor. And they're like, well, now I don't know. And I'm like, you're the one who said if I had this, you would be right on top of this. And I find I struggle between the like, okay, now I have to find someone else to sell this to because the committees are sold, the boards are sold on it. So now it's part of the quota that I'm trying to make for this event.
but if it's good, if it's a good idea and there's ROI attached to it, then another business partner should want it essentially. So I go out, that happens to me all the time. Everybody has a great idea. Okay. And if it's a truly great idea, I will incorporate it. and all of a sudden you have cold feet. Okay, I'm moving on. I give you a deadline and then I move on because I can't hold this forever. And so then I go out and I do a big reach out. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, that's really interesting. Okay, I'll look into this. And then I have to get on the phone and I do it. And then what happens, what I've seen happen is the sponsor who initially thought of the idea on sites like, oh man, that was good. Oh, but you know what? The other group has first right of refusal for next year. So I don't know, maybe we'll have to come up with something else. Like you snooze, you lose. So you got to keep the train moving. You got to hustle. You got to go out there. You got to talk to these guys. I mean, again, you have to believe in what you're selling. And I don't accept just any willy-nilly idea. It really has to be a good one for me to incorporate it into our events. Not just because someone says that, I really like this. Well, I really like Louis Vuitton. I can't go out and buy Louis Vuitton every week. So I really try to be strategic about what we accept on the sponsorship level. And I kind of know, I kind of know our members now what's going to sell, what's not going to sell. Like if you can resell to someone else, then all of a sudden someone has FOMO. And yes, they do, because you were too slow. You got cold feet. The early bird catches the worm.
Dina, I haven't actually had that problem either. I don't go back to the board. I don't go back to the committee. If I think it's a good idea, I will sit there with them. We'll price it. They're like, that sounds great. And I send them a bill.
I just ask for the credit card right then and there and have them give it to me over the phone. That way they can't change their mind. If it is a good idea, like you said, you could have to be discerning, but most of the time, if they bring it up, I said, yeah, that's awesome. I'm ready. Give me your card. And they're so excited, they just give it to you. And then you hurry up and charge it before they change their mind. So, yeah, that's how we work around that. Because sometimes there is a great idea and sometimes, it's not so great. And then you get to sell something you didn't plan on selling, especially when the event's sold out. It's easier to sell random sponsorships when the event is completely sold out because they're so desperate.
Yeah, I will say that's something that we find with our golf tournament. Our tournament sells out to 144 golfers every year. We're an 18-hole tournament. It's full day. But to the point we added sponsorships this year because people continuously we have a tendency to have a lot of our sponsors renew year over year, which is great. It's a great problem to have. If you want to even call it a problem. But then you've got new companies coming in going, oh, I'm interested in this sponsorship and this sponsorship and this sponsorship. And you're going, well, these are all taken. Here's what's still available. And so I think in the last 2 years, especially, for example, just using our golf tournament as an example, we've started pulling off the ones that have in the last several years not really been selling, because clearly there's something that people aren't really interested in on those. And we found that it meant that this year we sold out of giveaways and we almost sold out of the on-course sponsorships. And then we had some food and beverage sponsorships left over. So there wasn't really much left out of what was available, which was a fantastic.
Well, what you can do with those that aren't as popular, you can overprice them and then they're not as popular and they're desperate. So then you give them a discount and it's really the price you wanted. And so then you're getting it and you're teasing them. The whole thing is teasing them and the FOMO. If you know how to work your people, it's very easy to do fundraising. You just have to know how to get them desperately excited. Like all our events have massive wait lists for the all of 24 and so far all of 25. So it's very, very easy to say, like in the teasers in the social media or in the email blast, 3 left, 3 foursomes left, or 1 tee box left, or this or that, and then they miss it, and then it might be something that's more expensive, and they may not want it, but it's a killer sponsorship. It's just like pricey, and you're like, I'll take depending on how much it is, I'll take $500 off of that, just for you. Ooh, sold, and then, there you go. You got what you wanted and then some. So it's just how you market and tease your stuff and know your audience. Like Carly said, it's very important to really know your management, the ones who spend money, and really know what they like and don't like.
Right. And I think not being afraid to sunset, certain things that
Mhm.
aren't being picked up too. I think that's something, Carly, you had mentioned, really taking a look at your sponsorship package. Does it look like something from 2002? Put it together and it doesn't have fun graphics, it's just a Word document. Could you make it, stand out in a different way? Are people not reading your top tier sponsorship because it's buried on page 7 versus maybe if you had it right at the top on page 1, they might see that and that's the first thing they see and they want to be a part of. So I think it's also taking a look at your offerings, and just because it's always been on there or this is how you've always done it, if it's not working, don't, feel free to make that change. Or if it is something that's super popular, I know with talking with several of you the past few years, if something's super popular and you've got this wait list for it, I've seen the increase of the sponsorship to it. That maybe it started at $500, now it's 2,000 over the years, it's increased slightly, but there's so much value to the business partner in that they're willing to do that. I will say though, just make sure that you're not outpricing those local smaller business partners, that you've got availability for them to also participate, because we know we've got some of those mom and pop shops as our business partners that also want to be involved. So we want to make sure that we're not outpricing them during some of this as well.
You can also take a risk and just start closing events. Do your budget, make sure you meet your budget, and once you meet it, close it. And I've done that a couple times, and it creates a demand the next time there's another event. And I made my money. I was happy with that. But then the next event, they're so desperate to get in, they register right away and they sell out the sponsorship. It just depends on what you're trying to market and what events go faster than others. But sometimes you got to tease them in a different way, um, for things like that. That's also an opportunity too. It's just if you're comfortable being that aggressive on certain things.
Thanks.
Michelle, I see you've got your hand up. And by the way, I love that picture that you've got.
Oh, that's from our Dodger event, which I was just about to talk about actually. So, our Dodger event is super popular. It sells out. We're limited to the number of tickets because we're limited to how many tickets they'll sell us. And also because the bar that we rent has a limited capacity. So we always sell out tickets. Business partners love to buy, 10 or 15 or 20 tickets and invite managers. But we have so much trouble selling sponsorships because all they want to do is buy the tickets, and the tickets are so pricey. Um, so what I think I'm going to do for next year is I'm just going to package the sponsorships with the tickets and sell them that way. And there will be individual tickets available as well for like those smaller business partners, but it will be a much more limited supply. So those business partners who want a big block of tickets, they have to buy a sponsorship.
Michelle, I'm guessing the audience that these business partners want to meet with can they buy tickets like managers, homeowners? Can they buy individual tickets, or are they only relying on the business partners to get them their tickets?
They're only relying on the business partners because the tickets are like $220.
I see. Okay.
And so, because I mean, the tickets are expensive anyway. This year it's a special giveaway night, so you had to pay $10 extra per ticket to get the giveaway because it's a Pride Jersey night. So those giveaways aren't just for every ticket. And then on top of that, we have to price them high enough to cover the F&B costs at the bar so that we're not losing money every time we sell a ticket. So that's why the tickets end up being so expensive.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It's very similar to what we do with our premier packages with regard to conference. We include, for all intents and purposes, a ticket to the event, i.e. a registration, is included with that package. So I think that, again, you know your members best, you know what's going to sell, but including a ticket in the sponsorship is probably a good win-win for both the chapter and the business partner.
Yeah, right now they all come with all the sponsorships come with 1 ticket, and
Mhm.
the title sponsorship comes with 2 tickets, but I'm gonna package them and price them higher so that it'll be like each sponsorship comes with 10 tickets.
Yeah, because there's a value with that.
Yeah.
I will say, kind of going back to Adina, and I don't know if you guys have experiences, but sometimes I get caught in the crosshairs of a business partner saying that CAI is playing favoritism towards another business partner. I'll be completely honest, do I like other business partners more than others? Yeah, sure. That's just people. I like certain people more than others. I don't play favorites. I am transparent to all. These are the opportunities. If you don't like it, that's fine. Then you pass. I'm not. You told me you didn't want it, so then I moved on. However, what I have found is I'm getting the same sponsors year after year, and other sponsors are like, that opportunity never becomes available to me. This is not fair. So I've thought about the idea and I put together a policy. It's the right of first refusal policy, where the sponsorship is available for 2 consecutive years, and then on that 3rd year, I open it up to everybody. Now, whoever wants it first, whoever gives me their credit card first, can have it. Because if it's that coveted, that sponsor will get it again if they want it that bad. Or I have now opened it up to other sponsors to participate. So I've seen that as well, the first right of refusal policy. The other thing too is, I don't know if anybody looks at any other associations sponsorships, but National Apartment Association, I look at their sponsorships to see what they have, because they have similar membership type to CAI, obviously the apartment side, but they have a lot of the same business partners. And I want to know, what are their deliverables? What are they selling them at? And I know that that's a national organization, but they also have chapters. And I want to see, okay, work smarter, not harder. I'm like, what do they got going on? What's selling on their end probably will translate to us. And I also have my fellow coworkers out in the fields, in the world, and if they go to events and they come and they see a cool sponsorship, I'm like, okay, bring it back. Like this year for the law seminar, I'm doing like, I know it sounds silly, but our law seminar has never had tote bags. And if I hear one more person saying, where's my tote bag? I'm going to jump out a window. So I have decided to incorporate a tote bag sponsorship for the law seminar, but also luggage tags. And I've titled these really fun things, but these are all sponsorships that other members of CIS staff have seen be successful elsewhere. So again, it's about doing research, and honestly, ChatGPT, amazing what you can find on there. And I just want to say this, and hopefully this goes without saying, you can always reach out to me. Happy to bounce ideas. We can set up calls, we can shoot emails, we can do a happy hour, virtual happy hour. But happy to do it anytime. And do like a check-in with you guys if you have any questions. So yeah.
And I do want to circle back to one thing really quick too, the first right of refusal. When we were in the lounge at the annual conference, there was a couple chapters that brought up different ways of how they sell their sponsorship packages and make sure, like, I think one chapter was talking about you need to send, an email. It opens up at 10 a.m. and she just works down the email chain. And so no one can question, this was the first one that came in, and she works her way down the list. Versus that first right of refusal. If you're starting to hear that, if it's starting to become that problem of the same people are the only people who are able to get these, there might be some different ways around that and to work around that if that's the way to do it. I know some people are talking about doing like a virtual one where it's you come into this space, they spin a wheel of who's there, and that name gets picked. They go into a breakout room and then they pick their sponsorships, they're done, and then they go back to the main room, spin the wheel again. And so there's ways to be creative about it, and works best for you if that's something you're hearing about with that first right of refusal. But Carly, if you wouldn't mind sharing that, what you put together, we'll make sure we get that out to the chapters too, in case anybody wants to adopt that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So we've got about 15 minutes here today left. Is there any challenges or things that you'd love feedback from your fellow chapters about sponsorships that either you're thinking about or you're having a struggle with trying to put together? You know, again, this is the time and the space to really get that best feedback from you. Go ahead, Kate.
I just put a question in the chat. It was basically Carly or anybody. I mean, I know we do this. Do you come up with a budget for your sponsorship goals based on how much you want them to cover for the annual chapter budget? I mean, I know you're national, so it's a little different, but in general, it's a general question because we do that. We want to make sure minimally certain things are covered for the entire year. So the chapter, you know what I mean? The sponsorships are based, the goal is based on how much I want covered for the year for safety. Just in case the individual a la carte thingies don't hit their goals. But I didn't know if anybody does that as a backup. So the chapter is successful that year.
I don't think National does that. You know, it's not like there's a certain percentage. Obviously there's a number we need to hit, but like, for example, if we have the welcome reception, right? And that's a guarantee. We're having the welcome reception. If I get sponsored for the welcome reception, that's just gravy. That's not, we're going to have it regardless. So sometimes it's a little bit more piecemealed where if I have certain receptions, it's just to cover that cost, but it's just based on last year's budget. And then we look, what percentage do we need to make more to incorporate covering fees at the hotel, really? I mean, because I don't know if you guys have seen this, but we've seen service fees. We're paying 29% service fees. So, and it's that push-pull. Do we put that on the sponsors or on the business partners, or do we put that on the attendees? Do we try to do both? Like, who has that money? Like, we can't just go up like 30% across the board and call it a day. We do try to be cognizant of what we're spending, what things cost, and what we're charging our members. We don't want to outprice the members, but it's really difficult to keep up with these hotels who are charging, close to 30% in fees that don't even go towards my budget. Like, it goes towards my budget, but it's like it's difficult. And I hope to see, there's been a lot of talk in the meetings world of meeting planners rising up and saying, enough, uncle, like, you cannot keep doing this. I was at a Marriott event where they were talking about it, and good God, you were thinking you were at DC Women's March. They were not happy. And as they shouldn't be. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous that we're spending like 30% on service charge, but we'll see. I mean, eventually the pendulum will swing back, because eventually people will be like, okay, well, then you're outpricing me, and I can't hold my program with you. And if, an empty ballroom doesn't pay for itself. So we do hope that swings back around. But as for the budget,